One thing I absolutely love doing in Marvel Snap is giving star ratings to cards. Whether I'm really far off, it's just really fun to speculate whether I think a card is going to be strong in the meta or weak, fall flat, if you should pick it up or if you should pass on it. It's just interesting to me to talk about cards from that point of view. Well, we like to talk about them when they're data mined, and we like to talk about them before they come out, but I also like to talk about them when it's been a few months and maybe the cards have underwent some changes. Maybe they've been buffed, nerfed, or just completely reworked. Well, today we are looking back on the cards that were released in March and April. So that is the Days of Future Past season as well as the Animals Assemble. I almost forgot about it. So I did this previously with the January, February months. It's really interesting. A lot of those cards have changed, and a lot of these have changed as well and have been some absolute game changers, and I got quite a few wrong. You're going to see one in particular I feel so bad about, but let's start it off with NIMROD. So NIMROD was a 5/5. You might not be used to that because right now he's a 5/6, but when he was released, when he was data mined, he was a 5/5, and both occasions I gave him 3 stars because, you know, I just felt like, yeah, this is a pretty cool effect, but a 5 cost is a bit late and maybe it doesn't quite work out. Now, Galactus was also changed before. He didn't have that extra condition of having to be able to win the location to actually have his on reveal trigger. So that was a pretty bonkers combo. A lot of people were running Nimrod with Galactus. They still do, but it's a little bit more difficult to pull off. Now, a lot of people are just playing in a typical destroy archetype where you use Carnage and then you use Venom and you just destroy and you get all these Nimrods. You also buff it up with Shuri because that's just crazy. So he's actually in a really good spot. But I have to say, I'm still giving him 3 stars. I still feel like even if he got the +1 energy buff, power buff that is, I still kind of don't feel like I always get my combos off with Nimrod. He requires a lot of support. Personally, I've struggled with the card, but I still see its potential. I still see its strength. It still does really well in the meta, so that's why I'm giving it a solid 3 out of 5. Next up is Master Mold. So Master Mold, man, I gave this card 4 stars when it came out. I had high hopes, and I don't really remember exactly why, but we hadn't really seen this like hand clogging thing, and maybe I thought the Ronin deck was going to take off. Didn't quite work out, and then, you know, quickly before the card was released, I gave it 2 stars because I was like, maybe this is a bit overhyped. Maybe it doesn't do exactly what you want. And sure enough, as you probably know, if somebody plays Master Mold against you, very few times does it actually hurt your game plan. Usually it's just like, okay, cool. Like, thanks for the Sentinels. Maybe I'll actually play one. Because the problem is they play 1 Sentinel. They've already got 1 point of power over you. And unless you're setting up for that Ronin, you can actually make that work. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit difficult, and it's not actually going to break your opponent's hand like you really hoped it had. I feel like there's a lot of potential for this card in the future. I feel like right now it's actually still not too bad. We see it in a few lists. I know Dare JN is really a big fan of this card and using it with like the Darkhawk list and all that sort of stuff. So there is hope for this card yet, but right now I'm keeping it at 3. Then there's Negasonic Teenage Warhead, a 3/4 at the time. She ended up getting buffed. Man, I was so excited about this card. I had really big hopes for Teenage Warhead because Ben Brode tweeted out, he was like, man, you guys are not ready for this card. This card is so much fun. And I was like, man, if Brode is talking about this card, it's going to be cracked, right? And the ability seemed insane. But upon playing with it, I realized that it became more awkward than not to just play your own cards at the Teenage Warhead location. Like they sometimes just kind of lock yourself out, and then your opponent has control over removing 4 power on the final turn. I have won many games where I just wait till the last turn, play like something irrelevant like a squirrel or something at the Warhead location, and then they end up losing power, which swings the location, and I end up winning. So you gotta watch out. But there's some pretty nice setups with like Professor X and whatnot. But I gave it 4 stars on the data mine. I kept the 4 stars right before it released when it was officially announced. And then right now, I think this card is a 2.5 stars. I'm giving Negasonic Teenage Warhead 2.5. I feel like she has potential. She got the extra power. Like, she should be better than what she's performing, and maybe I'm sleeping on this one a little bit, but I wouldn't give it more than 3, so I kind of just landed on 2.5 because I find it a little bit underwhelming compared to the last 2 cards I just talked about. Kitty Pryde. Now, Kitty Pryde is a very fascinating card. This card has been changed and it's been buggy. It got completely broken and taken out of the game, and then it was given out for free, I think like 3-4 months back. I think it was a month after it was actually announced and released. So anyways, she was data mined to be a 1/2. You could return this to your hand to gain +1 power. So the idea being that it wasn't automatic. The way you probably understand Kitty Pryde is that she's always going to bounce back to your hand no matter what you do after you play her until the final turn, unless she's locked in with Professor X or something like that. So with this Kitty Pryde, you had the option to return it to your hand. And that might seem weird from a mechanical standpoint, but it wasn't that difficult. If it was your turn, you would just kind of pick it up off of the board and then you could play it again on that very same turn. So if you kept paying the energy costs, similar to how you know Kitty Pryde, if you did it every single turn, you would get to some pretty cool power levels, right? See, over 6 turns, you're looking at like a 1-8 or something along those lines. So I gave this 3 stars in the Dynamites. I thought, okay, that's pretty good, but you got to pay the energy toll every turn after turn after turn. So I don't know if this is actually going to be well worth it. But you had the option to return it to your hand or not. It's really interesting to see this version of Kitty Pryde compared to what we know today, which I'm going to get to soon. But then the original, I gave it 4 stars because look, they buffed it. They went to +2 power, same effect, had the option to return it to the hand. They removed the 2 power from the actual card on its base stat line, but that 2 power, the ramp was just crazy, and knowing that you could return it whenever you wanted, I had to give this 4 stars. Honestly, looking back, should have been 5, because as we all know, Kitty Pryde popped off. She was the strongest card for quite some time, and then having the option to maybe dodge Killmonger on command was pretty nice as well, but she broke instantly. She was taken away from the game, and then she was given out for free with a slightly different effect that I'm not going to really get into, but basically she would automatically get back to your hand. But now in her current version, when she got reworked, she looks like this, and she's a 1-2 when this returns to your hand, +1 power returns at the start of each turn. Still giving her 5 stars, guys. I'm still giving this card 5 stars. This is still such a fantastic tool for bounce decks, but even just in general as a 1 cost, just, you know, getting that power back, playing it with Angela is insane. There's just so much applications, and it just seems like one of the better 1-drops in the game. And now actually she's pretty good in the later turns as well, because before she was a 1-0, you draw her on 6, it kind of sucks. At least now it's a 1-2, and you can play it if you have the spare energy, so not too bad. Yeah, she's like in the top 3 of best 1-drops in the game, in my opinion. Hitmonkey was the April Season Pass card. I gave him 4 stars in the Dynamites, and I gave him original, right before he was released, 4 stars. But before, he was a 2-0. And he had the on reveal of gain +2 power for each other card you played this turn. Same ability as you know him today, but now, as of course, as you know him, he's a 3-2. He ended up getting nerfed. I mean, it didn't hurt him too bad, but it definitely was overall a nerf despite the +2 base power. That energy cost is really important for Hitmonkey because the idea was you want to play as many cards as possible in the final turn. So you would play Sarah on turn 5, and then you'd play Hitmonkey plus like 5 or 6 other cards, getting this Hitmonkey to easy like 12 power, and then maybe you had Wong out there and you get it to 24 power, something like that. It was just wild, the combinations that you could pull off with this card. But I gave it 4 stars. I knew this was going to be strong. I was pretty excited about this card ever since I saw its first data mine, and then going right into it, I think 4 stars, maybe even 5 at the time could have been worthwhile, but 4 felt pretty safe, which honestly, I still think it's a 4-star card. Like, Hitmonkey still feels really good to me. I play a lot of lists with Sarah. You get a discount and you play a bunch of stuff. You can get this card to a high power total, which is exactly what you want to do at the end of the game. So I feel like people are sleeping on the Kitty Pryde Hitmonkey bounce list because of those nerfs. I still play it and have great success. Like, it's still a super strong list, super strong build, that I think, I don't know, people shy away when there's a few nerfs here and there, but I'm still giving Hitmonkey the 4 stars. Then we have Jeff. Oh no, this is the one, guys. This is the one. I blew it. I don't know. Something about Jeff, I just felt like the character was a bit of a meme. And then also we had Nightcrawler, right? Nightcrawler's a 1-2 and he can move anywhere. And Jeff is the same thing, but he can move to unplayable locations. And I don't know. I think I underestimated the strength of being able to be played at unplayable locations. And not getting sniped by Killmonger was actually just a huge thing. You can play Jeff pretty safely knowing that he's never going to get destroyed. You can play him wherever you want. The versatility is fantastic. Being able to be just put in every single deck possible, because why not, is just great. And they are just absolutely locking my boy Jeff behind in Series 5, which is just absolutely disrespectful. But they just knew that he was a 5-star card because he is still a 5-star card. Don't get it mixed up. Possibly the best card of the game. Definitely like the best 2-drop, I would say. I would go ahead and say that Jeff is the best 2-drop in the game. I hope he drops soon. This Dan Hip variant is coming out that I cannot wait for. But I blew it on the star rings. 2 stars, and then I gave him 2.5. Absolute disrespect. I'm sorry, Jeff. I apologize. I'm going to get this Dan Hip when it comes out. But there you go. He's a 5-star card. Then we have SNOWGUARD. Oh my goodness. This is crazy, guys. This is crazy. This is something like I'm always going to admit when I'm wrong, okay? Like I think in general we get some star ratings correct, but I miss. There's misses. It's all for fun. Like, I'm just a fan of this game and I like talking about it. So I gave Jeff 2.5 right before the release of all these cards when they were officially announced, and I gave SNOWGUARD 3. The disrespect is unreal. It's through the roof. But you know, something about SNOWGUARD made me really excited about it. And we didn't 100% know how she worked at the time. And her flipping back and forth every single turn, and when you draw her, she turns into the hawk every time. Like, there's just so much weirdness going on. And as everybody knows, this is like one of the worst cards. So we got Jeff, which was one of the best, and then we got SNOWGUARD, which is still to date one of the worst cards in the game. Which is weird because it's a 1/2. It should be good. But sometimes the abilities are like not a positive. Like, you don't want the abilities on those cards. And we have to give her a 1-star right now because any of her variants are never seen. You literally draw the card, the variant goes away. So unless you're just staring at it in your collection, no value. So that right there, that is just like a bad card all around for me. Although the artwork is like really beautiful, which is kind of sad, but hey, what can you do? This was a bad one on me. April, I missed a few on April, but let me tell you, this next one I was correct. Stegs. If you guys know anything about me, it's that I love STEGRON. I think this card is just fantastic. I gave him 3 stars in the data mine, kind of shying away from his potential strength. I gave him 4 in the original ratings because I thought this guy was going to be a beast. Sure enough, I picked him up with 6,000 tokens right away, and we have won some games. We have made infinite with this card. We have got our first infinite ticket with this card in our deck. Now, obviously, he's not always stealing the show, but he has his moments. Let me tell you, like, I once slapped a Hulk away over to a location where my opponent played Carnage. So it was Gamma Lab. They had a Hulk. I slapped it over there, and then the Carnage revealed and ate up that Hulk. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. There's so many fun moments that you can get from slapping your opponent's cards around. I absolutely love this card. So I had him at 4, data mine 3. I'm giving him 3.5. I think it's a strong card. I think it's absolutely being slept on compared to a lot of other cards, especially when you pair it with Zabu. Like, there's a lot going for this guy. Would I like to see him get 1 more point of power? Yeah, that'd be nice. But, I'm happy with him. And then the other thing is, a lot of people say, well, Juggernaut can do his job better. It's like, yeah, but sometimes Juggernaut doesn't have enough power. Like, actually, I like Storm into Stegron a little bit better. Even if your opponent was to play 2 cards, let's say, it is nice to have that extra buffer of power, because what if your opponent has Jeff or something like that? You just want that little bit of extra power to keep your butt covered. But anyways, that is the cards for March and April. I definitely got a few wrong. I think I got some right, but you never know. It's all fun. I love talking about Marvel Snap cards. Guys, the PC version just launched. They're doing Twitch drops and all this kind of madness on Twitch, and I have to tell you, we're going to be streaming on Twitch, so stay tuned. I can't wait to play with the full screen. It looks so good. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.